So, expect this to be the wildest interview of your life.
I can't wait. Somebody's got to liven up politics somehow, right? We're good, Jay?
We're good, you guys.
Okay. So this is your 90.
All right, hang on a second.
Right.
Say, this is John Turmel, and then I'll take off my hat.
Actually, it's not kind of the format we're going with. But
Okay.
You can leave it on. We're not doing that kind of a format.
Okay.
We've got everyone in. We just let them do a little bit of an introductory. You're welcome to wear the hat for the first part of the interview or
Okay.
leave it on the whole time, okay?
Okay, no, I'm going to take it off.
Okay.
I just want to say hi there. Remember me? And then take it off.
You can do that if you want. Go for
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm John the Engineer Turmel, and this is my 99th election. And I don't feel bad because I've been trying to pull off what I call the Spock move, which is to reprogram the Bank of Canada's computer to give everybody an interest-free credit card and checking account. Now, what would you do with it? You'd pay off all your mortgages, student loans, and debts, right? So this is my political cartoon, which says, whom would you vote for? The monkey with the Let's software to give you interest-free loans? Or these candidates who don't have any software, no program? So the obvious choice is the monkey's better than what you have in the major parties. So how did I get into this? Well, here's a picture from 1981. And there you see there's a big equation there. And that's the reason I got into politics and ran 99 times. That's the equation for how much inflation is generated by the interest rate. Now, they lie to you. They tell you that interest fights inflation, which means that you got to believe that raising costs is going to lower prices. Now, it's pretty silly. So I have two major videos I'm counting on during this campaign, which is I have one you can YouTube for Win Biggestly, because Win Bigly was a book written by Scott Adams, a very great book, and I decided to amplify it, and I called it Win Biggestly, where I explain how if they could get access to the Fed, they could pull the Spock move at the Fed and give everybody interest-free loans. Now, I'd like to do a 3-minute poem for you. Gee, I didn't bring it with me. I got to do it by heart, okay? On why this is a problem. You got those? Okay. Canada's debt national had much stability till 1974. Starts exponentiality. Same in Ontario. Quebec. Debt's doubling over time. Did debts all start to grow in big coincidence? Sublime? The Bank of Canada once loaned to provinces and Fed without the interest that causes budgets to turn red. So the Bank of Canada used to make loans to the provinces and the Fed interest-free. So it paid for it financed major projects, made St. Lawrence Seaway B. Trans-Canada was highway financed sea to shining sea, with only taxes for depreciation and repair. So easily affordable without the banker's share. But in 1974, Pierre Trudeau cut the feed, said no more interest-free loans for infrastructure need. All governments must borrow now from private banks, new funds from private banks, and raise new tax to pay new interest with bankers' thanks. But worse, in 1968, Pierre Trudeau lifted cap on interest from 6% to 60%. That's the rap. Interest used to be capped at 6% till 68, and now it's the criminal code limit of 60% when Pierre lifted the cap. So Canada's, geez, I should have learned it. Okay, so anyway, so they fell for it. How did Canadians fall for that interest? Well, they were told that interest fights inflation. They fell for that raising costs will lower prices. And that's silly, but they fell for it. That means that over the last 40 years, we've been taxed $2 trillion, 2,000 billion, 2 million to service debt on Trudeau's debt we didn't even have to owe. So, 400, what, the 2 trillion taxed, so our taxes disappear since over 40 years ago when Trudeau's national debt started to grow. So if Mr. Spock could at Computer Central all alone debug bad code to save a planet from the danger zone, no help he needed from the low-tech slows who had no clue. What Spock can do, the engineer says, I can do it too. So, this is not something that's hard to do. It's correcting software. I have a degree in systems engineering, top of the technology totem pole, scored 100% in physics, and I specialized in the mathematics of gambling and became a professional gambler for 42 years. If anybody saw the movie Rounders with Matt Damon, the scene at the Taj Mahal under the chandeliers, all card games got their guy they call the professor. I was called the professor at the Trump Taj Mahal in the movie. So, and I made my living 42 years till I got my pension and stopped, because for me it was always a job. So, with that education, that's exactly the same education Mr. Spock had. Science, and he was the guy who could figure out the odds of winning, the winningest way to go. So, when you have mathematics to figure out the winningest way to go, who's ever going to argue with me when I say this is smartest? So, I have another video which will upset a lot of people. My channel is Smartest Man Says. I have the website smartestmanonearth.ca and smartestman.ca, and maybe the closest education to Mr. Spock could be smartestman.ca. But I got a video which is why I'm so smart and you're so not. And I go over all the really stupid things scientifically you've been led to believe. Let's start with 911. Did you know that jumbo jets can't do 500 miles an hour in thick sea level air? So what do you think you saw flying through the air that hit the towers and came out the other side? It couldn't be a jumbo jet. They can't do that fast. What was it? Well, how about when you see the cutout of the plane going into the building? You got an aluminum structure going through reinforced steel. It should have gone splat. It wouldn't make a cutout like a Roadrunner, okay? And that's what you see. So, aluminum cannot cut through steel. It should have gone splat. And the last 911 joke is that office fires, gasoline fires, can melt steel. 2 plane loads of gasoline melt 3 steel buildings. And you fell for that? How many people have stopped using their gas stoves because they're worried that the grill is going to start melting since 911? Nobody. It's too stupid to believe. So if you don't believe a hot blue flame can melt your grill, how can you believe a dark smoked yellow flame is going to melt reinforced steel? That's how stupid some of the things they've put out there for you to believe. So, another great one, the Shanksville. You see there's a hole in the ground. They told you that a plane crashed and got sucked up into the ground and covered up so you can't see any plane. You believe that? Geez, I mean, there's so much crazy stuff, but the one that's going to upset people the most is how many people fell for global warming. That's my favorite. This is the hockey stick graph, right? And then it shoots up here, exponential. But this is the actual graph of temperatures. There was something called the medieval warm period, 800 years ago, when Greenland was green, a lot warmer than now, which is just a little blip down here. But what's interesting is, ask anybody global warming alarmist, what about the pause? What was the pause? Well, I believed in global warming until 2009. And then ClimateGate exposed that they used a trick to hide the decline since 1998. So, in 1998, CO2 continued to spike, but global warming stopped and paused, and there was a decline. They didn't use a trick to hide a pause. They used a trick to hide a decline. And so now, how long has this pause been? When did it stop? It hasn't stopped yet. We're still below 1998 temperature. So little Greta at the UN going, the sky's on fire, we're all going to die. She hasn't experienced any warming throughout her whole lifetime. So how many People fell for that scam just by having it constantly repeated that this is warmer than any other time. I remember days when I was a kid when it was warmer than now, and we're going into a global cooling period. So aren't you going to look stupid as you have to admit there's been a pause for 21 years and you're still saying there's danger coming? So these are the kind of hoaxes and stupid stuff that they've made you believe, and I don't. Now, those are why you're so stupid. Now, why I'm so smart. I came up with the actual equation for inflation. And I showed that if you raise interest rates, those are going to be passed along in higher prices. You understand? So, you can have two kinds of inflation. If you got 100 poker chips chasing 100 widgets, if you add 10 more poker chips, you got an inflationary shift, right? But what about if you subtract 10 widgets? 100 chips chasing 9 widgets. Same shift. Well, economics teaches more money is inflation, but they don't teach disappearing collateral after foreclosure is inflation. I was on Dragon's Den. I did that routine, and they cut me just as I said shift B to make me look silly. But now you know there can be up over here or down over there. Two possibilities for a shift, not just up over there like they keep repeating to you. You look at any article on inflation, they say interest rates is the medicine. We have to stomach it. We have to take the pain to fight inflation, and it makes it worse. So that's one. Number two, I did something no one else did. I discovered a differential equation in Jesus' teachings in the Bible, okay? Jesus set up a commune called the poor where everybody loaned to each other interest-free. And his greatest, most stated statement 7 times in Scripture, to those who have abundance will more be given. From those who don't have abundance, even what they have will be taken away. That's how interest works at the bank. Those who are positive get more. Those who are negative get less. So, Jesus came up with a commune that eliminated interest, which is why they hated the Christian commune so much. And the neatest thing was he said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And 100 years ago, later they were saying, hey, Romans are still enslaving us. What kind of bull was this? Kingdom of heaven is at hand. It doesn't mean soon. It means next to you. You're in it. If you contemplated what your life would be like without your debts, if you could pay off all your debts and have only one interest-free debt that every payment brings it down, that would be heaven. This world would be heavenly. So the point is, it's a heaven if it's interest-free, and it's a hell if you have loan sharks running the game. And that's what Jesus meant when he said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. All you got to do is get rid of the loan sharking out of the program, and you're in the kingdom of heaven. You don't think this planet can offer us a heavenly existence if we only got rid of our debts? So, the snake in the grass are the moneylenders who have sucked people into believing they got to pay interest on chips when a casino bank is a perfect model. You bring your collateral to a casino bank, they give you chips. And then you bring your chips back and you get all your collateral. Now you go to a bank, you borrow 10 chips, you got to bring back 11. Everybody. Mortgage means death gamble in French. Everybody borrows 10, everybody owes 11. At the end of the game, one guy gets squeezed out, gets his house foreclosed on, and now you got the same $100 chasing 9 houses. Inflation by shift B. So, as an engineer, the only engineer on the planet specialized in both computers and gambling, and having run my own gambling casino, so many times I got busted that I became famous as a gambler, but still, the only engineer in the planet specialized in chips, in banking. So I saw it when they gave me my engineering ring. We had to swear an oath to engineering integrity and design. We cannot let the nuts get loose on your tires, said the guy who wrote Rudyard Kipling, who wrote The Oath of the Engineers. So when I took it, then all of a sudden I realized, God, there's this lousy, stinking killer software in the bank's computers, and all we got to do is pull off a Spock move and switch. Well, I said to the Joe Clark government, I'll lend you $100 billion worth of my casino chips. on one condition. They're issued in direct exchange for work. They didn't take it, but nevertheless, in 1984, because governments and the courts weren't, I started this Let's software. It allows single parents to log on what nights you can double duty babysit each other's kids, and then pay each other with 1 hour IOUs, even if you're broke. And then a mechanic can take 3 1-hour IOUs in his shop. And the dentist can take 6 1-hour IOUs in his chair. And a support network grows around a bunch of poor babies, baby carers, mothers and parents. So the LET system is spread around the world. I mean, just last month I was reading an article about alternative currencies. Or they talk about Bitcoin, but that's a fraud. It's based on wasted work as opposed to LETs, which is based on useful work. You know, you get your computer doing work, mining. It does nothing useful. What's the end product of your computer mining? 0. But in a LETs, you got to put in an hour's work. So basically, I want to reprogram the Bank of Canada's computer, and I've tried 99 times offering. So I'm going to ask you, what are you going to tell your grandchildren when they ask you, when you were offered an interest-free credit card to pay off all your interest-bearing debts, why didn't you vote for that? Imagine how your grandchildren are going to think you were dense not to vote for interest-free credits at the Bank of Canada when you were offered the chance. Now, the problem is most people aren't told. They don't know about the Spock move. I was off Rogers this
I
week.
think they stopped recording.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You got lots of clips there, eh?
Lots of clips.
All right. So, how do I get your channel? Only on the internet?
Only on the internet.